For 10 years, I kept the most impossible secret a person could keep, hidden in my barn, growing from an infant no bigger than a human toddler into a 7-foot-tall creature that shouldn't exist. I'd fed it, taught it, protected it from a world that would never understand. And then one October morning in 2005, I walked out to find something massive standing at the edge of my property, staring at my barn with an intensity that made my blood run cold. The mother had finally come, and she wanted her child back. My name is Stanley Green, and I'm 56 years old now, though this story begins when I was 46, back in the spring of 1995. I live on a 100-acre property in rural northern Idaho, about 40 miles from the Canadian border. The land has been in my family since the 1920s, dense forest, a creek that runs year-round, and enough isolation that my nearest neighbor is 6 miles down a dirt road that turns to mud every spring. I'd inherited the property from my father in 1989 after he passed. Moved up from Boise, where I'd been working as an electrician, divorced and tired of city life. The property had a main house, a 2-story log cabin my grandfather built, a large barn, and a workshop where I did carpentry to make ends meet. I sold custom furniture to stores in Coeur d'Alene and Spokane, made enough to live on, and spent my days in the kind of solitude that suited me just fine. It was April 1995, early spring in Idaho, which meant the snow was finally melting and the forest was coming back to life. I remember the date exactly, April 18th, 1995. I was in the workshop finishing a dining table when I heard sounds from the woods behind the barn. Not unusual. We had deer, elk, black bears, cougars. But this was different, high-pitched, almost like a baby crying. I stepped outside, listening. The sound came again, definitely distressed, definitely young. I grabbed my jacket and a flashlight, it was getting dark, and followed the sound into the woods. About 100 yards from my property line, I found it. At first, my brain couldn't process what I was seeing. It looked like a child, maybe 2 or 3 years old, sitting against a tree, but it was covered in dark reddish-brown fur. The face was flatter than human, wider. The eyes were large and dark, and it was making that crying sound, its small chest heaving with distress. I stood frozen for probably 30 seconds, my flashlight beam fixed on this impossible thing. It looked up at me with those huge dark eyes, and the crying stopped. We just stared at each other. "Jesus Christ," I whispered. "What are you?" It tilted its head slightly, watching me. I could see it shivering. The spring night was cold, probably in the low 40s, and despite the fur, this thing, this infant creature, was clearly suffering from the temperature. Every instinct screamed at me to run, get back to the house, call someone. But who? The sheriff. Hi, I found a baby Bigfoot in my woods? They'd think I was crazy or drunk or both. The creature made another sound, softer, like a whimper. And I saw it was holding one arm strangely, pressed against its body, injured maybe. I made a decision I'd questioned for years. I took off my jacket and approached slowly. Okay, I'm not going to hurt you. Let's get you warm. The creature watched me, but didn't pull away. When I got close enough, I could see it was maybe 3 feet tall, probably weighed about 30 pounds, small enough to carry. I wrapped my jacket around it and picked it up. It was warm under the fur, but trembling. "Where's your mother?" I asked, scanning the woods. No answer, obviously. Just dark forest and the sound of wind in the trees. I carried it back to my barn, not the house. The barn felt safer somehow. Set it down on an old blanket in one of the empty stalls. Under the light, I could see more clearly. The left arm was definitely injured, hanging at an odd angle. Not broken, maybe, but sprained or dislocated. The creature watched me with obvious intelligence. This wasn't an animal. The way it looked at me, tracked my movements, responded to my voice, this was something far more aware. I brought water in a bowl. It drank eagerly, brought some bread. It ate that, too, cautiously. I found an old space heater and plugged it in, setting it up safely away from the straw, but close enough to warm the stall. "I don't know what you are," I said, sitting down about 6 feet away, "but you're hurt and alone, and I can't just leave you out there. So, I guess you're staying here, at least for tonight." The creature made a soft sound, almost like acknowledgement. Then it curled up on the blanket and fell asleep. I stayed in the barn for hours, watching it breathe, trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do. By midnight, I'd made a decision. I'd care for it, keep it safe, and absolutely tell no one. Because if word got out that there was a baby Bigfoot in northern Idaho, this place would be swarmed. Scientists, hunters, media. The creature would be taken, studied, probably locked up somewhere. I couldn't let that happen. That was 10 years ago, April 18th, 1995. The night I became the guardian of something impossible. The first few months were trial and error. The creature, I started calling it Scout because it reminded me of a child learning to navigate the world, healed quickly. The arm recovered in about 3 weeks. It ate almost anything: vegetables, fruit, meat, grains. Seemed to prefer fish and berries, which made sense given the Pacific Northwest ecosystem. Scout grew fast. By 6 months, it was 4 feet tall. By a year, 5 feet. By 18 months, it was taller than me. I'm 5'10", and at 18 months old, Scout was 6'2" and still growing. I'd converted the barn loft into a living space, put up walls for privacy, added insulation, installed a wood stove for heat. Scout slept up there, had space to move around. During the day, when I was working in the workshop, Scout would watch through the loft window, or when I was sure we were alone, would come down and observe what I was doing. The intelligence was startling. By age 2, Scout understood dozens of words, could follow complex instructions, showed problem-solving abilities that rivaled adult humans, would help me in the workshop, holding tools, passing materials. Those massive hands were remarkably dexterous. But Scout was also wild, would disappear into the woods for hours, coming back with fish from the creek or rabbits it had caught, would climb trees with impossible agility, could move through the forest in complete silence. Whatever Scout was, it was perfectly adapted to wilderness survival. By age 5, which brings us to April 2000, Scout was 6'10" and probably weighed 300 pounds. The resemblance to the legendary Bigfoot was unmistakable. Dark brown fur covering most of the body, lighter on the chest and face, massive shoulders and long arms, a face that was simultaneously human-like and distinctly other. And those eyes, dark, intelligent, aware. We'd developed a routine. Scout stayed hidden during the day when I had customers or deliveries. At night, we'd sit in the barn and I'd read aloud from books. Scout seemed to enjoy the sound of human language, even if full comprehension wasn't there. We'd watch TV together sometimes. I'd brought an old 19-inch set out to the barn connected to the house antenna. Scout was fascinated by nature documentaries. I'd long since stopped thinking about returning Scout to the wild. This was Scout's home now, my home, our home. And as strange as it sounds, Scout had become like family, the child I'd never had, the companion I hadn't known I needed. But I also knew it couldn't last forever. Scout was growing, getting bigger, stronger. And somewhere out there, there had to be others. A mother, at least. Maybe more. I tried not to think about what would happen when they came looking. Now it's October 2005, 10.5 years since I found Scout. Scout is fully grown now, 7 feet tall, 350 pounds. Still living in the barn, still helping with my work. Still, the secret I've kept from everyone for over a decade. My daughter Emma knows. She's 28, lives in Seattle, works as a graphic designer. I told her 3 years ago when she came to visit. Had to. Scout had gotten too big to hide effectively. She'd been shocked, obviously, but also fascinated. Visited more often after that, bringing food Scout liked, treating the whole situation with the same calm pragmatism she brought to everything. "Dad, you know this can't go on forever," she'd said during her last visit in August. Scout is full grown. What happens in 5 years? 10? What happens when you get too old to keep up this secret? I'll figure it out, I'd said. But I hadn't figured it out. And now, standing in my kitchen on the morning of October 12th, 2005, looking out the window at something massive at the edge of my property, I was out of time. The creature was huge, at least 8 feet tall, maybe more, covered in darker fur than Scout, almost black in the early morning light. Female, I thought, though I had no way to be sure. She was standing perfectly still, staring directly at my barn. She'd come for Scout. I knew it with absolute certainty. After 10 years, the mother had finally found us. My hands were shaking as I grabbed my jacket and headed outside. This was it, the moment I'd been dreading for a decade, the end of the secret, the end of everything I'd built with Scout. The creature didn't move as I walked toward her, just watched, waiting. I stopped about 30 yards away. "I know why you're here," I called out. "You're looking for your child." The creature tilted her head slightly, listening, understanding maybe. "I found Scout 10 years ago, injured and alone. I didn't take Scout from you. I don't know how you got separated, but I've cared for Scout all this time, kept Scout safe, protected Scout from a world that would never understand." The creature made a sound, low and resonant, not threatening, but powerful, the kind of sound that vibrated in your chest. Behind me, I heard the barn door open. Scout emerged, moving with that characteristic silent grace. Walked past me without hesitation, heading straight for the massive creature. Mother and child stood face to face. Scout was tall, but this creature dwarfed even Scout. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then the mother reached out one massive hand and touched Scout's face, gently, carefully. Scout made a sound I'd never heard before, something between a cry and a call, recognition, relief, joy, maybe. And I understood. This wasn't the end. This was something else entirely, something I hadn't prepared for, something that would change everything again. The mother was taking Scout back, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. I stood there watching Scout and the mother interact, feeling like an intruder on something profoundly private. They communicated through sounds I'd never heard Scout make. Low vocalizations, gentle hums, variations of tone that seemed to carry meaning. The mother kept touching Scout's face, arms, chest, as if confirming this was real. After about 5 minutes, Scout turned and looked at me, then made a gesture. "Come here." The same gesture I'd taught Scout years ago when I wanted Scout to bring me tools in the workshop. I approached slowly, heart hammering. The mother watched me with dark, intelligent eyes. Up close, she was even more massive than I'd thought. Easily 8 feet tall, maybe closer to 8'2". Her fur was darker than Scout's, almost black with gray streaks around the face and shoulders. Old. This was an old creature who'd spent a decade searching. Scout made a series of sounds to the mother, then pointed at me, then at the barn, then made a cradling gesture, the universal sign for care, protection. The mother studied me for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She nodded. Just once, slowly. Acknowledgement, understanding. "You know I took care of Scout," I said quietly. "You understand that." Another nod. Then she made a sound and gestured toward the forest. "Come, follow." "She wants us to follow her," I said to Scout. "Into the woods." Scout made an affirmative sound and started walking. The mother turned and moved into the forest with that same silent grace Scout had. I followed, my mind racing. Where was she taking us? And more importantly, was I going to come back? We walked for about 20 minutes, moving deeper into my property and then beyond, into the national forest that bordered my land. The mother moved with purpose, following a route she clearly knew well. Scout walked beside her, and I struggled to keep up behind them. Finally, we reached a rocky outcropping with several large overhangs creating natural shelters. The mother stopped at one of these and gestured inside. I peered into the dim space. It was a shelter, deliberate, organized, bedding made from cedar boughs, a fire pit with stones arranged around it, and along one wall, objects, human objects, a torn backpack, a rusted canteen, pieces of clothing carefully arranged, and photographs. Several photographs protected in what looked like plastic bags, propped against the rock wall. "You've been watching humans," I said, "learning from them, collecting things." The mother made a sound and picked up one of the photographs, held it out to me. I took it carefully. The photo was old, probably from the 1970s, based on the color saturation and clothing styles. It showed a woman, human, sitting on a log, smiling at the camera. She was holding something. A baby, not a human baby. The proportions were wrong, the fur visible even in the faded photo. She was holding a baby Bigfoot. "Jesus," I breathed, "a human raised you, just like I raised Scout." The mother made that affirmative sound. Then she pointed at herself, then at the photo, then at Scout, then at me. Parallel. The same thing had happened to her. She'd been raised by a human, probably lost or separated from her own mother, and somehow she'd survived, grown, returned to the wild. And then had Scout. "What happened to them?" I asked, pointing at the woman in the photo. "The people who raised you?" The mother made a gesture, time passing, then fading away. Gone. Long gone. Maybe they'd passed from old age. Maybe they'd moved away. Either way, she'd been alone again. "And then you had Scout," I said, "but something happened. You got separated." She made a series of gestures I struggled to interpret. Danger. Running. Separated. Lost. Then searching. Years of searching. 10 years, I said. "You've been looking for 10 years, a nod. Then she touched Scout's shoulder and made a sound that was unmistakably relief. Found. Finally found. Scout made a sound back, apologetic maybe, or just acknowledging the long separation. We sat in that shelter for over an hour. The mother showed me other things she'd collected, tools, books water-damaged but preserved, a harmonica that she'd apparently learned to play based on the wear patterns. She'd been studying humans for decades, probably since her own time being raised by them. And now she'd found her child being raised the same way. "What happens now?" I asked. "Do you take Scout back to the wild? Try to teach Scout to be whatever you are?" The mother looked at Scout, then at me. Then she made a gesture I hadn't expected. She pointed at Scout, then at me, then at herself. Then she made a gesture of 3 together. "Together?" I said. "You want us to stay together? All 3 of us?" An emphatic nod. Scout made an excited sound. Agreement, enthusiasm. Clearly, this was what Scout wanted too. "I don't understand," I said. "You searched for 10 years. Now you found Scout. Why not just take Scout back? Return to wherever you came from?" The mother made a series of gestures that slowly made sense. She pointed at Scout, then made a gesture of half and half divided, then pointed at the shelter, then at my barn. Scout belonged to both worlds now, wild and human, forest and home, and she was right. Scout had been raised by me in my barn, learning human ways. But Scout also disappeared into the forest for hours, caught fish and rabbits, climbed trees, moved through the wilderness with perfect adaptation. Scout was both. And trying to force Scout to be only one or the other would be wrong. "So you want to share," I said slowly. "Scout lives with me, but has access to you, to this place, to learning about being what you are." Another nod. Then the mother did something that shocked me. She reached out and placed one massive hand on my shoulder, gently. The gesture was clear: gratitude, trust, partnership. "Okay," I said. "Okay, we can try this, but there are rules. Scout can't be seen, can't be discovered. The world isn't ready. You know this. You've been hiding your whole life." The mother made that affirmative sound. She understood. She'd been avoiding humans for decades, except for controlled observation. She knew the risks. We worked out an arrangement over the next several days. Scout would continue living in my barn. That was home, comfortable, safe. But several times a week, Scout would spend time with the mother, learning things I couldn't teach: how to communicate in their language, how to find certain foods, how to navigate the forest like they did, whatever cultural knowledge existed between them. The mother would stay in her shelter, which was about 2 miles from my property. Far enough for safety, close enough for regular contact. She'd signal when she wanted Scout to visit, specific bird calls that she taught me to recognize. And I would continue to keep the secret, continue to protect them both from a world that would never understand. Emma came to visit in late October. I'd called her, told her there'd been a development. When I introduced her to the mother, we'd started calling her Sage because it seemed appropriate. Emma's reaction was typically calm. So Scout has a mom, and she's been looking for 10 years, and now you're all just co-parenting? Essentially, yes. Dad, your life is insane. You know that, right? I'm aware. Emma brought supplies on her next visit: warmer blankets, a better tarp for Sage's shelter, dried foods that would last. She'd always been practical. If this was the situation, she'd help make it work. The routine developed over the following months. Scout would spend mornings with me, helping in the workshop or just keeping company. Afternoons, Scout would go to the forest, spending time with Sage, learning things I saw evidence of but didn't fully understand. New vocalizations, new ways of moving, new awareness of the forest ecosystem. Scout was growing into something remarkable: the human-raised intelligence combined with wild instincts, the ability to use tools and solve complex problems paired with the strength and agility of a perfectly adapted forest creature. By December 2005, the arrangement felt stable, natural almost. I had my mornings with Scout. Sage had her afternoons. We were a strange little family, but a family nonetheless. And then one winter morning, everything changed again. I woke up to find Scout standing in my kitchen, which was unusual. Scout almost never came in the house. Scout was holding something, a piece of paper, and on Scout's face was an expression I'd learned to recognize over 10 years: worry. "What's wrong?" I asked. Scout handed me the paper. It was a flyer, the kind you see stapled to telephone poles. Must have blown onto my property, gotten caught on a fence. "Bigfoot Expedition," it read in large letters. December 15, 2005, Northern Idaho Wilderness. Join renowned cryptozoologist Dr. Harrison Webb for a week-long search for evidence of Sasquatch. $500 per person. Limited spots available. The location listed was the Kaniksu National Forest, right where my property bordered the national forest, right where Sage's shelter was. They were coming. A whole group of Bigfoot hunters, led by someone who apparently made a career of this. Coming to the exact area where I'd been hiding Scout for 10 years, where Sage had her home. I looked at Scout. "This is bad. This is really bad." Scout made a low, worried sound, then pointed at the dates. 1 week away. 7 days to figure out how to protect 2 full-grown Bigfoots from a group of people specifically looking for them. "I need to talk to Sage," I said. "We need a plan. We need to keep you both safe." But even as I said it, I knew the truth. The secret I'd kept for 10 years was about to be tested like never before, and I had no idea if we could survive it. The next morning, I drove into town for the first time in 2 weeks. Bonner's Ferry was the closest thing to civilization, a small town of maybe 3,000 people with a grocery store, a hardware store, a diner, and not much else. I needed information about this expedition, and the best place to get local gossip was Martha's Diner on Main Street. Martha Cunningham had run the place since 1978. She was 65, knew everyone's business, and had a memory like a steel trap. If anyone in town knew about this Bigfoot expedition, it would be her. I slid into a booth around 10 a.m. Martha came over with coffee before I even asked. "Stanley Green, haven't seen you in weeks. Thought maybe you'd finally moved to somewhere civilized. Just been busy with orders, holiday season." "Uh-huh." She poured the coffee. "You want the usual?" "Please. And Martha, I heard something about some kind of expedition happening. Bigfoot hunters or something? Her eyes lit up. This was exactly the kind of thing she loved talking about. Oh, you mean Dr. Webb's group? Yeah, they've booked out the entire Riverside Motel for a week. 15 people, all paying good money to tromp through the woods looking for Sasquatch. Dr. Webb? Harrison Webb, some kind of professor or researcher. He's been on TV, apparently. That show about unexplained mysteries on the Discovery Channel. My grandson showed me an episode. She leaned in conspiratorially. Personally, I think it's all nonsense, but it's good for business. They've been buying supplies like crazy. Floyd at the hardware store sold them $5,000 worth of camping equipment yesterday. They're camping? I thought they booked the motel. Base camp is the motel, but they're setting up observation posts throughout the national forest. Motion sensor cameras, audio recording equipment, the whole 9 yards, real professional operation. She paused. They specifically requested access to the area near your property, actually. Something about promising footprint evidence from a few years back. My stomach dropped. Near my property? Well, near the border of your land and the national forest. That whole quadrant north of Kootenai River. Apparently, some hikers reported seeing tracks back in 2002. Dr. Webb's been planning this expedition for months. 3 years ago. That was around when Scout had started making regular trips into the deeper forest. I'd been careful, but clearly not careful enough. Someone had seen tracks. When exactly are they starting? Day after tomorrow, December 15th, running through the 22nd. They're having some kind of press conference this afternoon at the motel if you want to hear more. Dr. Webb loves talking to locals, from what I hear. I thanked Martha, paid for breakfast I barely touched, and drove straight to the Riverside Motel. It was a rundown place at the edge of town, usually empty this time of year. But today the parking lot was full of vehicles, SUVs, a few trucks, and a large van with Webb cryptozoology research painted on the side. I parked and walked toward the motel office. Through the window I could see people setting up equipment. Cameras on tripods, maps spread across tables, boxes of electronics being unpacked. This was serious, well-funded, professional. A man in his 50s, tall and lean with graying hair and wire-rimmed glasses, was directing the setup. He matched the description I'd seen on the flyer, Dr. Harrison Webb. I pushed open the door. Webb looked up, smiled professionally. "Can I help you?" "I'm Stanley Green. I own property that borders the national forest in the area you're planning to search." His smile widened. "Mr. Green, I was hoping to meet you. Your property is adjacent to some of our key search areas. I was actually planning to call you this afternoon to request permission to set up a trail camera on your land, right at the border with the national forest." "I'd prefer you didn't." The smile faltered slightly. "I understand property rights are important. We'd be happy to compensate you." "It's not about money. I value my privacy. I moved out here to get away from people, and I'm not interested in having researchers tramping through my woods." Webb studied me for a moment. "Mr. Green, I respect that. We won't enter your property without permission, but I hope you'll reconsider. The evidence we've gathered suggests significant activity in that quadrant. We're not thrill seekers or amateurs. This is legitimate scientific research." "Research into what exactly? Bigfoot? Sasquatch? You really think there's some undiscovered ape species living in northern Idaho?" "I think the indigenous peoples of this region have told consistent stories for thousands of years about large bipedal creatures living in these forests. I think there have been thousands of credible sightings, and I think dismissing all of it as hoax or misidentification is intellectually lazy." He paused. "Have you ever seen anything unusual on your property, Mr. Green? Unusual tracks, sounds, evidence of large animals?" I kept my face neutral. Bears, elk, deer, cougars, the usual wildlife. "No tracks that seemed different, larger than expected, five-toed, human-like?" "Nope." He didn't look convinced, but he nodded. Well, if you do see anything during our expedition, I hope you'll let me know. Here's my card. We'll be in the area for a week, and we'd love to hear from locals. I took the card, thanked him curtly, and left. My hands were shaking as I got back in my truck. He knew something. Maybe not specifically about Scout or Sage, but he knew there was activity in that area, and he had a week to find evidence. Back at the property, I'd found Scout in the barn pacing nervously. I'd never seen Scout this agitated. "I know," I said. I met the guy leading the expedition. They're setting up cameras, audio equipment, search parties. We have 2 days before they start. Scout made a questioning sound, pointed at the forest. "Sage? I need to talk to her. We need to make a plan. Can you take me to her shelter?" We hiked out immediately. It was early afternoon, the December sun already low in the sky. Snow had fallen a few days earlier, leaving everything covered in a thin white blanket. Our tracks would be visible, which made me nervous, but we couldn't wait. Sage was at her shelter when we arrived, organizing supplies. She looked up as we approached, and I could see she already knew something was wrong. I explained the situation using a combination of words and gestures Scout had taught me. Humans coming, many humans, looking specifically for creatures like her and Scout. Cameras, 7 days. Sage listened, her expression darkening. Then she made a gesture. Wait. She disappeared into her shelter and emerged with something I hadn't seen before. A large piece of bark, and on it, carved marks. Not random. Deliberate. A map. She pointed at various marks, making sounds Scout seemed to understand. Scout translated through gestures. The marks represented other shelters, other locations Sage used. "You have multiple places," I said. "You rotate between them to avoid detection." Sage nodded. Then she pointed at one mark, far to the north, almost at the Canadian border. Remote, isolated, safe. "You're saying you can move there, stay there for the week while the expedition is active?" Another nod. Then she pointed at Scout, then at my barn, then made a hiding gesture. "Scout stays hidden, completely hidden. Scout won't leave the barn, won't go outside at all. I'll bring food, water, everything needed. Scout stays invisible." Scout made a protesting sound. "A week locked in the barn? That was asking a lot." "I know it's hard, Vin," I said, "but if they find you, it's over. Everything we've built, they'll take you away. Study you, lock you up somewhere. Is 1 week of hiding really worse than that?" Scout made a reluctant, affirmative sound. Sage approached Scout and placed both hands on Scout's shoulders. Made a series of sounds. Reassurance, maybe. Promise. "This is temporary. We'll be together again soon," Scout responded, and they had a conversation I couldn't fully follow, but understood emotionally. Scout was scared. Sage was promising safety. They'd survived 10 years apart. They could survive 1 week. "When will you leave?" I asked Sage. She pointed at the sky, made a gesture of sunsetting twice. 2 days. The same day the expedition started. She'd move at night, when she was hardest to spot. "What about your shelter here? All your things?" She made a sweeping gesture. "Take it. Hide it. Destroy it if necessary. Nothing could be left that would confirm a large creature lived here." "I'll help," I said. "Tonight, we'll clear out everything that could be evidence. Make it look like just a natural rock formation." We worked through the evening and into the night. I brought garbage bags from home, and we packed up everything human-made. The photographs, the tools, the books, the harmonica. Everything went into bags that I'd store in my basement. The bedding we scattered, making it look random, natural. The fire pit we dismantled, spreading the stones. By midnight, the shelter looked like nothing more than a natural overhang. No evidence anyone or anything had been living there. Sage watched the transformation with visible sadness. This had been her home, but she understood necessity. The next day, December 14th, I spent preparing the barn. I'd already converted the loft years ago, but now I reinforced it, added extra insulation so no heat signature would show if they used thermal imaging, covered the window with blackout material, brought up enough food and water for 2 weeks just to be safe. Scout helped, understanding this was serious. We were going into lockdown. That evening, Emma called. "Dad, I saw online that there's some kind of Bigfoot expedition happening near you. Should I be worried?" "I've got it under control. Scout's going into hiding. Sage is relocating. We'll wait it out." "What if they find something? What if they have better equipment than you think? Then we'll deal with it. But right now, the plan is to be invisible. They can't find what they can't see." "I'm coming up." "Emma, no. That'll just draw more attention." "Dad, you're hiding a 7-foot-tall Bigfoot in your barn while a professional cryptozoologist searches the area. You need backup. I'm coming up. I'll be there tomorrow night." She hung up before I could argue further, and honestly, I was relieved. Having Emma there, having someone else who knew the truth and could help keep up appearances, might be exactly what we needed. December 15th arrived cold and clear. I watched from my kitchen window as vehicles drove past my property entrance, heading deeper into the national forest. The expedition had begun. I spent the day trying to act normal, worked in the workshop on a bookshelf order, went to town for supplies, making a point of being seen. At the diner, Martha told me the expedition had set up their main search grid and were deploying cameras. "They've got this fancy equipment," she said. "Motion sensors that can detect heat signatures, microphones that can pick up sounds from half a mile away. Dr. Webb said if there's anything out there, they'll find it." I smiled and said something about how it would probably just record a lot of confused elk. But inside, I was terrified. Because no matter how well we'd prepared, we were dealing with professionals who'd spent years hunting for exactly what I was hiding. Emma arrived that evening, her Subaru pulling up the driveway around 7 p.m. She'd brought more supplies, extra batteries, additional food, a police scanner she'd bought at an electronics store in Spokane. "So we can monitor if they find anything," she explained. "If they radio about tracks or sightings, we'll know immediately." We sat in the kitchen, the scanner crackling with occasional chatter. The expedition team was professional, using official-sounding call signs and coordinate systems. They'd split into 3 groups, each covering a different section of the forest. Group 2, we have possible prints near Marker 7. Large, 5-toed, request photo analysis. My heart stopped. Emma and I looked at each other. "Marker 7, I said. "That's about 3 miles northeast, near where Sage's shelter was." "Dad, you said you cleaned it out." "We did, but prints. If the snow fell after she left, her tracks from moving north would still be visible." We listened as the team examined the prints, took photographs, made measurements. The excitement in their voices was obvious. They'd found something. Dr. Webb confirmed. Prints are 18 inches long, stride length approximately 6 feet. Depth suggests weight over 300 pounds. This is significant. I stood up, started pacing. They found her trail. When she moved north 2 nights ago, she left tracks. Can they follow them? If the trail is clear enough, yes. And if they follow them far enough north... I didn't finish the sentence. If they followed Sage's trail to her new shelter, if they set up cameras there, if they caught her on video, it was over. Everything would be over. Scout appeared at the kitchen door, strictly forbidden during the day, but Scout must have heard the fear in my voice. "It's okay," I said, though it clearly wasn't. "They found tracks, but tracks aren't the same as finding you or Sage. Stay calm, stay hidden. This is exactly why we prepared." But even as I said it, I knew we were in trouble. The expedition had only been active for 12 hours, and they had already found significant evidence. They had 6 more days, and they weren't going to stop until they found the source of those tracks. The question wasn't if they'd find Sage. The question was when, and what would happen to all of us when they did. The scanner crackled through the night with constant updates. Group 2 was tracking the prints northward. They'd lost the trail twice when Sage had moved through rocky terrain, but kept picking it back up. Dr. Webb himself had joined them, his voice occasionally cutting through the radio chatter with instructions: maintain distance, don't contaminate potential evidence. If we encounter the source, observe only, no aggressive action. Emma looked at me across the kitchen table. He sounds like he expects to actually find her. He's a professional. He's been doing this for years. Of course he expects results. I rubbed my face, exhausted. The question is, what do we do if they get close? We can't exactly warn Sage. We don't have her phone number. Under different circumstances, I might have laughed. Instead, I stood up. I need to check on Scout. Make sure Scout's handling the confinement okay. I grabbed a flashlight and headed to the barn. The December night was brutally cold, probably in the teens. My breath formed clouds in the beam of the flashlight. The barn was dark and quiet. I climbed the ladder to the loft. Scout was sitting by the blacked-out window, listening. Those ears, far more sensitive than human, could probably hear things I couldn't even imagine. "You hear them?" I asked quietly. "The expedition team's in the forest?" Scout nodded, pointed northeast, then held up fingers. Three groups spread across the forest. They found Sage's tracks from when she moved north. They're following her trail. Scout made a low, worried sound, started to stand, clearly wanting to go help. "No, absolutely not. That's exactly what we can't do. If you go out there, they'll have two of you to track instead of one. Sage is smart. She survived decades avoiding humans. She'll know what to do." But even as I said it, I wasn't sure I believed it. Sage had never dealt with this level of pursuit. Motion sensors, thermal imaging, coordinated search teams with GPS and radio communication. This wasn't hikers occasionally stumbling into her territory. This was a systematic hunt. Scout gestured toward the window, made a sound like a question. "Help her?" "I don't know how," I admitted. "If I drive out there, I'll just draw attention to myself. Make them wonder why I'm so interested in their search. The best thing we can do is stay invisible, let them search, hope Sage is far enough north that they give up before reaching her new shelter." But the scanner had other ideas. Around 2 a.m., a crackle of excitement. "Group 2 to base, we found a secondary site, coordinates north-northeast from marker 7, approximately 6.2 miles, signs of recent occupation, requesting full team analysis at first light." Emma, who dozed off on the couch, sat up immediately. "Secondary site? But you said you cleaned everything." "We did, unless..." I thought hard. Sage had multiple shelters marked on that map. Maybe this is one of her older ones, one she hasn't used recently but hasn't completely cleared out. Is there evidence there? Things that could prove she exists? I don't know. I never saw her other shelters. She kept them secret, even from Scout and me. The night dragged on. No more major updates, just routine check-ins and position reports. At 6 a.m., as gray light started filtering through the windows, Emma made coffee and we sat at the kitchen table trying to figure out our next move. "We need to know what they found at that secondary site," Emma said. "If they have physical evidence, photos, artifacts, something concrete, they'll extend the expedition, bring in more resources. This won't end in 7 days." "So what do you suggest? I can't exactly ask Dr. Webb for updates." "No, but you can go to town. Martha will know. The expedition team is staying at the Riverside Motel. They'll be talking about any discoveries. And you have a legitimate reason to be in town. You need supplies for your workshop." She was right. I could gather intelligence without seeming suspicious. I'd been going to Bonner's Ferry for supplies twice a month for years. Nobody would think twice about it. At 9 a.m., I drove into town. The hardware store was my first stop. Actually did need some sandpaper and wood glue. Floyd Jenkins, the owner, was practically vibrating with excitement. "Stanley, you hear what those Bigfoot hunters found?" Can't say I've been paying attention. "They found some kind of shelter up in the forest. Said it looked deliberately made with collected items and everything. They're up there right now documenting it." My stomach clenched. "Collected items? Like what?" Didn't say specifically, but Dr. Webb told someone at the motel it was highly significant. Lee, they're talking about extending the expedition another week if the funding comes through. Another week. 2 weeks total of having Scout locked in the barn, of Sage hiding in the far north, of living in constant fear of discovery. That's something, I said neutrally. You'd think after all these years, if there was really something out there, someone would have found definitive proof by now. Floyd shrugged. Maybe they're better at hiding than we give them credit for. You have no idea, I thought. At Martha's diner, the lunch crowd was buzzing with the same news. I sat at the counter, ordered a sandwich I didn't want, and listened to the conversations around me. My thermal imaging picked up something large moving through the trees last night. Footprints everywhere once you know what to look for. Dr. Webb is calling this the most promising expedition in 20 years. A woman I didn't recognize, probably part of the expedition team based on the expensive outdoor gear, was showing photographs on her phone to a group of locals. I couldn't see the images clearly, but I heard her narration. This was taken at the secondary site this morning. See how the bedding is arranged? That's not random. That's deliberate. And these stones, they're arranged in a circle. A fire pit, probably. Something intelligent made this shelter. My food arrived, and I forced myself to eat mechanically while listening. The expedition had found one of Sage's old shelters. The one we'd cleaned was to the south. This one was northeast, part of her rotation. She'd probably abandoned it weeks or months ago when she moved into the shelter Scout and I had cleaned out. But clearly she hadn't cleaned this one as thoroughly. Evidence remained, evidence that would keep these people searching. I paid and left, driving back to my property with a growing sense of dread. When I pulled up, I found 2 vehicles parked at the end of my driveway. Dr. Webb and another team member were standing by their SUV, looking at a map. I pulled up next to them. "Can I help you, gentlemen?" Dr. Webb smiled. "Mr. Green, we're just reviewing our search grid. We've had some exciting developments." "So I heard in town." The secondary site we found is remarkable. Clear evidence of tool use, shelter construction, long-term occupation. Whatever made it has significant intelligence. He paused. The site is about 7 miles from your property. I know you said you haven't seen unusual tracks, but have you noticed anything else? Unusual sounds at night? Missing livestock? Strange smells? I kept my expression neutral. Like I said, just regular wildlife. Bears, elk, the occasional cougar. He studied me. "Mr. Green, may I be frank with you?" "Of course. I've been doing this for 23 years. I've learned to read people. And you, sir, are hiding something. I don't know what, but every instinct I have tells me you know more about what's in these woods than you're saying." My heart hammered, but I kept my voice steady. "Dr. Webb, I'm a private person. I moved out here specifically to avoid people and attention. So yes, I'm not thrilled about having an expedition camping in my backyard. But that doesn't mean I'm hiding Bigfoot in my barn." The truth wrapped in sarcasm. The best kind of lie. Webb smiled slightly. "Fair enough. But if you do see anything at all, I hope you'll reconsider and let me know. What we're discovering out here could rewrite zoology textbooks. It's bigger than any individual's privacy concerns." "I'll keep that in mind." He handed me another business card. I now had 2, and returned to his vehicle. I waited until they drove away before heading to the barn. Scout was at the window again, looking agitated, had clearly watched the interaction with Webb. "I know," I said. "They're getting close. They found one of Sage's old shelters. They have evidence now, real evidence. This isn't going away." Scout made a questioning sound, gestured toward the north. "Sage? I don't know if she's safe. The trail they're following leads north, but it's 6 days old. Sage has had time to get far away. She's probably 40 or 50 miles north by now, well beyond their search range." But I was guessing, hoping. I had no idea where Sage actually was, or if she'd traveled far enough. The afternoon brought more scanner chatter. The teams had collected samples from the secondary site. hair fibers caught on bark, unidentified scat, wood samples from the shelter structure. Everything was being cataloged, photographed, prepared for laboratory analysis. If the DNA comes back as unknown species, one researcher said over the radio, this becomes the discovery of the century. Emma paced the kitchen. They're building a case. Even if they don't find Sage, they'll have enough physical evidence to prove something large and unknown lives in these forests. They'll come back, bring bigger teams, more equipment. I know. So what do? We can't hide Scout forever, and Sage can't keep running. Eventually, someone's going to get footage or capture one of them. I don't have an answer, Emma. I've been protecting Scout for 10 years by staying invisible, staying isolated. This is the first time anyone's looked this hard. I don't know how to fight this. She stopped pacing and looked at me. Maybe we're thinking about this wrong. What do you mean? We're trying to keep them from finding anything. But what if instead we gave them something that satisfies their search, but leads them away from Scout and Sage? Like what? A fake Bigfoot suit? No. Like evidence that whatever made those shelters has moved on, left the area entirely. If we could plant evidence to the south, old tracks, maybe some fur samples from the stuff you collected from Sage's shelter, make it look like whatever was here has migrated away, they might end the search early. I considered it. That's risky. If they figure out the evidence is planted, they'll know someone's actively trying to mislead them. That'll make them more suspicious, not less. But if we do it right, make it subtle, make it look natural, it could work. It's better than just waiting for them to find Sage. Before I could respond, the scanner erupted with urgent chatter. All teams, we have visual confirmation. Repeat, visual confirmation. Large bipedal creature spotted near marker 12, moving north. Team 3 in pursuit with video equipment. Emma and I stared at each other in horror. Marker 12 routes, I said, grabbing my property map. That's only 4 miles from here, 4 miles south of where Sage should be. Could it be her? Could she have come back south? I ran to the barn. Scout, did Sage come back? Is she nearby? Scout was already at the window, making distressed sounds, pointed emphatically north. No, Sage is north, far north. Then what did they see? Emma asked from behind me. Scout turned to us, and on that expressive face I saw something I'd never seen before. Fear. Pure, undiluted fear. Scout made a gesture, large, even larger than Scout, then pointed at themselves, then held hands apart, indicating size difference, then made a gesture I'd seen Sage make once. Family. Oh God, I breathed. There's another one. Not Sage. Someone else? Bigger than Scout. How is that possible? Emma demanded. You said Scout and Sage were alone. That's the whole story. Scout was lost and alone. Sage searched for 10 years. They're the only ones. Scout shook their head vigorously, made more gestures. Sage alone. Scout alone. But Scout pointed toward marker 12's direction, made a gesture of unknown stranger. You're saying Sage didn't know about this one either? A nod? Then Scout made a gesture that chilled me. Dangerous. The new creature was dangerous. Over the scanner, Team 3 was giving breathless updates. Subject is approximately 8 feet tall, dark fur, almost black. Moving with purpose toward the river. We have video. We have clear video. This is happening. This is really happening. Dr. Webb's voice cut through, controlled but excited. Do not approach. Maintain observation distance. I'm en route to your position. Emma grabbed my arm. Dad, if they have video of another one... I know. It's over. They have proof. Everything changes. But Scout was still gesturing frantically, pointed at the direction of marker 12, then made a motion toward my property, coming here. The creature was heading toward us. Why? I asked. Why would it come here? Scout pointed at themselves, then at the barn, then made a scenting gesture. It smells Scout. It knows Scout is here. And suddenly, everything made terrible sense. Sage had told us she'd been alone, and she had been, except for Scout. But that didn't mean there weren't others out there, solitary and isolated, spread across the vast wilderness. This new creature, male probably based on the size, had caught Scout's scent and was coming to investigate, which meant in a matter of hours, possibly minutes, we'd have an unknown, potentially dangerous Bigfoot heading directly toward my property, and a team of researchers with video equipment following right behind it. The secret I'd kept for 10 years was about to explode in the most catastrophic way possible. Get Scout deeper into the barn, I told Emma, somewhere that doesn't have windows, somewhere that blocks the scent as much as possible. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, but we need to keep that creature away from here, and we need to keep those researchers from following it onto my property. The scanner crackled again. Subject has altered course, now heading southwest, toward private property. Dr. Webb, we need permission to follow. We're losing visual. Webb's response was immediate. Whose property? According to GPS, looks like the Green property. Stanley Green, the guy who wouldn't let us set up cameras. There was a pause. Then Webb's voice, careful and controlled. All teams maintain current position. Do not enter private property without permission. I repeat, do not trespass. I'm going to call Mr. Green and request access. My cell phone rang 30 seconds later. Dr. Webb's number from the card he'd given me. I looked at Emma, at Scout, who was listening to everything with obvious terror, at the phone in my hand. If I didn't answer, he'd probably come anyway, with sheriff's deputies to make it legal. If I answered and refused, same result. And if I answered and allowed them access, they'd find Scout within hours. There was no good choice. There was no right answer. I answered the phone. Mr. Green, this is Harrison Webb. We have a situation. I'm listening. We have visual confirmation of a large unknown creature heading toward your property. We have video documentation. This is the real thing, Mr. Green. This is what I've spent my career searching for, and it's on a direct path toward your land. I need your permission to follow it, to document where it goes, to potentially discover where it lives. No, Mr. Green. I said no. This is private property. You don't have permission to enter. Whatever you saw, it's not my problem. We have video, Mr. Green, clear video, of an 8-foot-tall bipedal creature. If it has a den or shelter on your property, this is a historic discovery. You can't just... Actually, I can. It's my land. You need my permission or a warrant, and I'm not giving permission. Then I'll get a warrant. The sheriff is a friend of mine. Given the evidence we have, given the scientific importance, I don't think it'll be hard to convince a judge. You do what you need to do, Dr. Webb, but until you have that warrant, you stay off my property. I hung up. Emma stared at me. You just declared war. I know. They'll get the warrant. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, but they'll get it. I know that too. Scout made a questioning sound. What now? What now, indeed? I had maybe 12 hours before Dr. Webb showed up with legal authority to search my property. 12 hours before they found Scout, before the secret exploded, before everything I'd built and protected for a decade came crashing down unless I could figure out a miracle in the next 12 hours. And right now I had no idea what that miracle could possibly look like. The next 6 hours were the longest of my life. Emma and I sat at the kitchen table, the scanner crackling with updates as Dr. Webb coordinated with the sheriff's office. They were preparing an emergency search warrant based on credible evidence of significant zoological discovery on my property. Around 4 p.m., Emma's phone rang. Her mother, my ex-wife Linda. Emma listened, eyes widening. What? Okay, thanks, Mom. She hung up and turned on the TV. It's on CNN. There it was, grainy footage showing something large and bipedal moving through forest. The creature was massive, dark-furred, unmistakably real. The news anchor interviewed Dr. Webb via satellite. This is the most significant cryptozoological discovery in modern history, Webb said. We have clear video, footprints, hair samples, evidence of tool use. We believe there's a small population in this area. My phone rang. Sheriff Tom Morrison. Stanley, Judge Patterson is reviewing Webb's warrant request. It'll be granted by 6 p.m. I wanted to give you warning. On what grounds, Tom? Video of something entering your property, GPS coordinates, your resistance to the search. The judge sees it as probable cause. After I hung up, Emma said, "We have 2 hours. Scout can't be here when they arrive." "What are you proposing?" "Scout goes north right now, find Sage. By the time they search, Scout is miles away." Scout appeared in the doorway, having heard everything, made a determined sound. "Yes. Go now." "It's 40 miles through wilderness," I said. "In December, with searchers everywhere." Emma pulled out a map. "If Scout follows the creek north, stays in water to mask scent, then cuts east through dense forest, there's a chance." I looked at Scout, 7 feet tall, the family I'd had for 10 years. The thought of sending Scout into danger was terrifying, but it was the only option. "Okay, you leave it dark, follow the creek north for 10 miles, then go east into the deepest forest. Avoid all humans, and when you find Sage, you both stay hidden at least a month." Scout approached and placed one massive hand on my shoulder. Gratitude, trust, goodbye. "This isn't goodbye," I said, voice breaking, "just temporary. When things calm down, you can come back." But I wasn't sure I believed it. Emma packed supplies, dried food, tarp, waterproof matches. At 5:45 p.m., as dusk fell, Scout stood at the back door. "Stay safe," I said. "And Scout, thank you for 10 years. Scout made a soft sound, touched my shoulder once more, then slipped into the forest. Within seconds, Scout had disappeared completely. Gone. At 6:15 p.m., headlights appeared. Sheriff Morrison's cruiser, Dr. Webb's SUV, and a team van. "Stanley," Morrison said, holding papers, "I have a warrant to search your property." Dr. Webb stepped forward. "Mr. Green, thank you for cooperating." "I'm not cooperating. I'm complying with a legal order. There's a difference." They searched for 3 hours. House first, every room, closet, basement, nothing. Then the workshop, then the barn. Webb climbed to the loft, emerged frowning. "It's set up like living quarters. Why?" "I work late sometimes. Don't want to walk to the house in winter." "There's a lot of food stored here, like someone's been living here." "Like I said, I use it during big projects." He wasn't convinced, but couldn't prove otherwise. They spread across my property with flashlights and thermal imaging. Scout was gone, probably 12 miles north by now. At 9:30 p.m. they reconvened. Webb approached, frustrated. "Nothing. We tracked that creature to your property line and the trail disappears. Maybe your GPS was off, or maybe someone warned it away." He stared at me. "That footage is going to change everything. More teams will come, better equipped. We will find what's in these mountains. You've only delayed the inevitable. Then I guess you'll keep searching." They left around 10 p.m. Emma and I collapsed on the couch. "Scout made it out," she said. "For now, but this is just beginning." The next 2 weeks were chaos. The video went viral, 30 million views in the first week. News crews descended on Bonner's Ferry. My property became a pilgrimage site. I had to install no trespassing signs and call the sheriff twice to remove fence climbers. Dr. Webb's expedition extended indefinitely. More researchers arrived with more equipment. They conducted systematic searches throughout the forest, but found nothing. A few tracks, hair samples testing as unknown primate, evidence of shelters. But no more video, no more sightings. Whatever had been filmed had vanished. Emma stayed the first week, then returned to Seattle. "Call me if Scout comes back." "I will." But Scout didn't come back. Days became weeks, weeks became months. Winter deepened, searchers scaled back in January, forced out by heavy snow. They'd return in spring, Webb promised, with more people, more resources. I spent winter alone, working in my shop, watching the forest, hoping. Nothing. March 2006. 3 months since Scout left. Snow melting, forest awakening. Webb's team scheduled to return next week. This morning I found something on my porch. A smooth stone, gray with white veins, just like the ones Sage collected, placed deliberately where I'd see it. I looked toward the forest, saw nothing. But I knew. They're out there. Scout and Sage, together, safe. I picked up the stone, tears running down my face. For 10 years I'd raised Scout, protected Scout, and then had to let go. The stone said I'd been right to trust. I don't know when I'll see Scout again, maybe never. The world has changed. These mountains are watched now, searched, documented. Scout and Sage will have to stay deep, hidden, far from humans. But they're alive, they're together, they remember. That's enough. I placed the stone on my desk next to the others. 3 stones now, 3 connections to something impossible. Emma called that afternoon. Dad, Webb is bringing 30 people for spring search. They're using drones with thermal cameras. Scout and Sage are smart, they'll stay ahead. You sound different, at peace. I got a message this morning. They're okay. That's all I needed to know. So what now? I remember, I carry it with me. But I accept this part of my life is over. Scout doesn't need me anymore, has Sage, has a life I can't be part of. That must be hard. It is, but it's right. I raised Scout to survive, and Scout is surviving. Every evening at dusk, I walk to my property edge and look toward the forest, watching, hoping, remembering. Sometimes late at night I hear sounds, low vocalizations, far away. Might be elk, might be wind. But I think it's them, Scout and Sage, out there in darkness, safe. 10 years ago, I found a baby creature that shouldn't exist and decided to protect it. Today, that decision means Scout has a real life, free, wild, hidden from a world that would never understand. I don't regret it, not for a second. When I'm gone, Emma will keep the secret, keep watching the forest, keep protecting them from distance, because some discoveries are too important to share. Some truths are more valuable hidden than revealed. The world has Webb's grainy video and DNA samples and theories, but they don't have Scout, don't have Sage, don't have the truth, and never will. The truth is safely hidden in the wilderness of northern Idaho, living free, protected by isolation. The secret I kept for 10 years is safe, and so is the family I never knew I was protecting until the mother showed up.